Road monkey like Fritos. Road monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew. Road monkey, very simple man with big warm fuzzy secret heart. Road monkey like you. Road monkey like you.
Hey Dino Dudes, what's up? You know who I am, it's me the Meteoraptor, and I am back with, guess what? Another new movie review. Tonight, you guys, I'm going to take a look at a 2015 horror anthology movie. That movie? VHS Viral. Now, if that title sounds familiar to you, it should. VHS Viral is the third installment in the VHS trilogy, although I just realized now they, didn't spell it right on the cover. That's kind of annoying. Consisting of VHS, VHS2, and VHS Viral. Now, I haven't seen all of the first VHS movie because about halfway through it I shut it off because at the time when I started watching it, it was a few years ago, it was way too graphic for me back then, and now I just haven't gotten around to watching it again. And I loved VHS2, and I thought this was a great movie. But from what I've heard, VHS is by far the best movie out of all three. But between 2 or 3, I'd have to go with VHS Viral. Now granted, VHS 2 is much better than this movie in terms of quality, writing, acting, and effects. But VHS Viral has some really cool ideas. Ideas which I think should be used in other kinds of movies. So let's talk about the story, or at least the multiple stories. You see, it's kind of hard to talk about VHS, this series, without spoiling a whole lot. So you know what? Some spoilers might be ahead, but I'm going to try not to. The main connecting story, well, let me just read you the back. A police chase through the streets of LA inspires dozens of fame-obsessed teens to flock to the scene with their video cameras and camera phones, hell-bent on capturing the next viral video. But there is something far more sinister occurring than anyone could imagine. Soon these teens will realize that they themselves are the stars of the next viral video, one in which they may face their own deaths. That's cool. So the main story, it's not even as much a police chase as the police kind of give up halfway through, and it's more this one guy trying to find his girlfriend, trying to find his wife or his girlfriend who has disappeared, and he's searching for her. And as for the stories themselves, there's a really cool one about a bunch of teenagers going to Mexico on Day of the Dead to do some skateboarding videos, and then they accidentally summon a literal horde of Mexican zombies, as you can see on the back here. Like, they look pretty cool. I'll cover that when I get to effects. And, of course, they have to fight them off. The other one, one of the others was, it's about a man who builds a portal to an alternate dimension where he meets himself, and everything seems to be the same. The only thing that's different is, in his world, he has stairs on the right. In the world he goes to, like, they switch briefly just to check out each other's lives. In the world he goes to, the stairs are on the left. Really? It doesn't seem like anything's that different. Until he sees what his wife is. I'm not gonna say anything more, because I would spoil it. Yeah, I'm just gonna do something really quick. See, the sad thing is, the second I look at it and I just check this really quick, I'll remember, like the second I see the summary, I'll remember what the third story was or what that other story was that I'm missing. So until then, though, I will talk about the other two stories. I really like the idea of the alternate dimension one, how they went through so much work to make sure everything is just altered, just flipped around. It just looks different. You know, they worked really hard to make the entire, hang on, here it is. Right, okay, that was the one I was forgetting. It's about a magician who gets a demon-powered cloak and begins to go kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs with it. So, yeah. That one was the one I had the most problems with for one reason and one reason alone. This movie, 99% of it is filmed with cell phones or video cameras or any of that stuff. The first story, the one about the magician, is very much almost a documentary. Like, there are interview segments, and they're mainly just interview segments in the story, which seems to have been filmed by an actual company, and then we'll cut back to security footage or a random camera or a phone backstage when he's doing all the bad stuff, which kind of makes me ask the question, but I can ask this question about the other two VHS movies. Who edited these? I could get maybe if you were filming with a camera that used to record onto a VHS, I could get that. But all the footage and everything in it, I can let the framing narrative go. I can let that go, okay? Let's just pretend that the framing narrative is the way it is, and I'm not going to judge that. These stories, where did the footage go? Who found it? And who put it together? See, in the second and first movies, they drop some hints at maybe there's some sort of otherworld force making these VHSs, and that the VHSs themselves contain some sort of strange power, which I don't want to talk about because that would be spoiling a lot of what made the first two movies really good, and even what made this movie really good. So I'm just going to jump back to the writing and talk about the positives and the negatives. Positives? They are really unique ideas. I really liked the ideas for the three stories. Negatives? Their pacing was pretty bad. This movie clocks in at 81 minutes, and that means we roughly have to follow each story for 20 minutes, give or take. I believe the framing narrative is more like 10 minutes, and that would give us, let's just say 23 minutes for each story. The only one which I really think was able to keep that 23 minutes and keep it, and like just make the entire thing start to finish good, was the one about the man building a portal to the mirror world, as I'm going to call it. The one about the skateboarding teens in Tijuana, there's an awful lot of padding, which is just them skateboarding and being radical cool teens and stuff like that. And the one about the magician, it's him doing magic stuff, for quite a bit. Now, I understand that you need to at least explain what happened before. You want to try and give us a little bit of insight into the characters before they start getting killed or killing people. You want to make us interested, and that's fine. Now, I do believe, though, that this movie, its pacing was quite a bit off, and it could have been much tighter. But at the same time, that would have made the movie maybe only an hour long. I believe they could have cut a lot of stuff out and filmed much shorter scenes of explaining or showing to make it better. But again, that would make it a very short movie. You know what I think this whole franchise could really use? Is TV. I think the VHS franchise would be amazing as a TV series. How? Let me put it this way. You give us one main character who's trying to investigate about these VHSs. He knows about them from the first three movies. He's heard about them. He may have known the people from the first movies. And the whole show is following him around as he collects them. And as he collects them, he begins to watch them. And that way we would get roughly an 18 to 20 minute long VHS story, which they could do what they try and do here. And I think would be really entertaining because they could do so much more. Because I would like to see more in this series. I really do. I'm not sure if they ever will make another one, but I hope they do. Anyhow, so really the whole magician one is the only one which really I have to complain about because of, it's not as much found footage as it is documentary. And in all these, the characters aren't that great, but what do you expect? And as for the framing device, it's kind of confusing and quite hard to follow. And at the end, there's supposed to be this big plot twist. And I couldn't really follow what was happening. I felt like I should have been like, oh man. But I was more like, Okay, that's weird, that's cool, but what does it mean? Because they don't give us a straight answer. So, yeah. And the rest of the film, it's pretty basic. Acting, no one does an exceptionally good job, but no one does an exceptionally bad job, aside from one of the teens in the Tijuana sketch and the magician's assistant in the first story. Effects? The effects are awesome. Now, granted, some of the CG is pretty bad in this movie. Like, there are a couple shots where the CG just looks horrible. But the sets, the makeup, the costume, the blood, the props, everything else looks amazing. Aside from the explosions in the third story in Tijuana, which I'm not gonna... Again, I don't want to spoil a whole lot, but it could have looked a lot better, but it also could have looked quite worse. So that's sort of a... The effects in this movie are very much a mixed bag. They're good, but they're not as amazing as they could have been. They're not as good as the first two. Cinematography, everything... Well, this kind of goes without saying because it's a found footage movie. If you get motion sickness easy, be very careful when you try and watch this movie, because half the movie and stuff is filmed like, oh man, we're running, quick, keep filming, even though you would kind of think they'd want to drop what they were filming so they could run faster. But whatever. Music, there isn't really that much music, because again, it's a found footage movie. It's not supposed to be a real movie. And the little bits that we do here kind of work. So in the end, can I recommend VHS Viral? Yeah. I'm giving VHS Viral 3 raptor claws out of 4. It is by no means the best in the trilogy. However, the entire trilogy, from what I've seen, would score 3 raptor claws out of 4. They're all really unique in their own way. And when you watch them together, they make for a very enjoyable watch. I have to agree with Chris Tilley from IGN Movies. This anthology threequel, don't you mean trilogy, is a blast. And you know what? Yes, it is. It's got great ideas, it's got fun premises, good effects, and it's got everything that you would really want. And best of all, I got my copy for $2. Same with VHS 2. I found this at Dollarama. Like, they sell in stores if you want to get the whole Blu-ray, DVD, digital copy for like $30 sometimes. But if you're looking for just the Blu-ray, you can find it pretty cheap. And I would recommend them to you. I still need to get the first one, and in fact, if this video gets 5 likes, I can guarantee a review of the first one. I'm not doing a reaction video because I've already seen about half of it. And a YouTuber I highly, highly respect, Emmer Prevost, already did one. In fact, he's done reaction and reviews on the entire trilogy. And actually, because of his reviews, is why I got interested in checking this out. But anyhow, you guys, as Halloween draws closer, they're fun to watch. And until next time, this is the Media Raptor, saying keep cool, and I will see you Dino Dudes around. Later.